Richie Vas, my old friend, mate. How are you? Welcome to Fitted Health and Fitness Summit. How you going, my friend? All good?
I'm good, mate. Thanks for having us, Mr. Zollo.
Mate, I just wanted to share a story with you quickly before we jump into it of how we met.
Yep,
I don't know if it won't. I don't know if you remember, but I was going through my boxing fight.
yep.
At Kick Tactics with a good friend of ours, Matty Gardner, great coach and great mentor of mine, and I
Mate,
see
mine too is
this.
mine too is a great mentor and my striking coach for over 10 years now. So yeah, he's a
Yeah,
legend.
he's an absolute legend of a kind, and he kept putting me in the ring with different personalities. And one of the reasons why I did a boxing fight was I was actually scared of getting hit, and I was doing a lot of sparring, and then one night we came into the gym. And he got us in these rounds. I don't know. We always do the 2 minute rounds of sparring on the spot, like the one
Yep.
step things. So, and I remember I was having a good night, and I was like, I'm feeling confident now. And this like little guy in the gym comes past me, and you had a headgear on, I think, because I think you were, training up for a fight at the time. And I'm like, oh, this little guy is here. I mean, I could get this guy. I don't know who he is, so I think I might have him covered. And then out of nowhere, we start sparring, and mate, I didn't even see the punches coming straight to me. The class that you had was unbelievable. I'm like, oh my god, this is a whole new level. Who is this guy? And then I realised that you took your headgear off, and it was Richie Bass. I'm like, oh, never underestimate the size of a human being, because you absolutely schooled me that day. And what I loved about it afterwards, mate, is that, and this is where I really connected with you well. You actually you took your time after the gym, like a little bit after the class, and you actually worked on a little bit of skills for me. Like took you aside and asked you a couple of questions,
Yep.
and you were out of your way and you didn't really know who I was, and you went out of your way for me. And mate, you're preparing for your own fight, and you do something like that for someone who's an amateur like that. So, mate, that's what the type of guy you are, and I really enjoy that. And I was very really fearful. In that round, I was like, oh my god, who is this guy? And I realized that it was Richie Vas. And that leads me into my first question, mate. Like, where did this, bubbly personality and outgoing personality start? Like, is it from your friendships, or how did that start, mate? That humbleness.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that outgoing kind of personality just comes from my parents. First and foremost, they're both really outgoing. They can sort of talk to anyone. Really easy to chat to. So I guess I always been around them as a kid. I always sort of never hesitated talking to new people, or was never sort of nervous to chat amongst any group. And then learning to fight professionally myself, and I always feel like I'm always a student. So and I've experienced people taking time out of their day to help me out, and I really am grateful for that. So when I see someone out, getting out of their comfort zone and trying something new like yourself that day, like, I love to return the favour, and if I can see somewhere I can give them advice on, I love to try and do it. And like, look, I love the fact that you're getting there having a go, and we had a good day that day, that sparring session. So I just love it. If you got questions, I love to try and help out and answer them. And you know, I think just the sport really teaches it to be humble. You know what I mean? If you're not humble, get into it. Quickly you learn. The sport has a special way of sort of applying humbleness to you. So I think it's that's a great thing that gets overlooked. In combat sports, but yeah, if I can help someone, achieve their goals, whatever it may be, whether it be boxing like yourself, I take pleasure in doing that. So I enjoy trying to give advice or help someone out, no matter what the skill level or what it is they have coming up.
Yeah, well, that's what I really wanted to share with you, and it's glad that you touched on that, because combat sports, they think that it's just a thug game, and it's not like that. From an outsider coming into it, like I was really having that anxiety to go into a fight, because it's a tough thing, and one-on-one an opponent. So I mean, that's what I realized that day. Like I really learned that from you, fighting the UFC. Just that there was an essence of calmness, and humbleness about you. And what I've really realized is that, yeah, there seems to be, some essence of fearlessness. Do you consider yourself fearless?
Yeah, I mean, no, I think that it's a big misconception. I think that fearlessness, really, like it's the fear is what makes you train hard. Fear is what makes you really be on your A game when you step in there to compete. And it's never the fact that fear is not there. It's always there. It's just knowing that you can overcome it, or knowing that it's there for a reason, and knowing that often the fear of what you imagine the night may be, or whatever the event you got coming up, whether it be a conference you have in your office job or whatever it may be. We all experience fear, and it's all the same kind of fear. And it's just the thought of that fear can often be a lot worse than what the actual the event will be like. So
Yeah.
I know that I've learned through competing, in jiu-jitsu or amateur boxing, and then getting into professional mixed martial arts. But often, you quickly realise the fear that you build up about an upcoming fight is often a lot worse than the actual night itself. So not to
Yeah.
get caught up in that, and but also use that fear to make sure you train well, and you train hard, and you leave no stone unturned. So you take confidence out of your preparation, that you step into the night knowing that you've done everything possible, and then go out there and do your best, and trying to take the pressure off the result, and off the consequence of of the result, and just go in there, do your best, and then whatever may happen, I try to imagine that I'll be happy just knowing that I've done my best, and then often that leads to a pretty good performance.
Yeah, exactly right, mate. And like you touched on a little bit on then, like not getting too caught up into it. And you
Yep.
say because I've got your book here, which is awesome, by the way,
Yeah.
unbelievable
Thanks.
book, mate. And page 7 it says you have anxiety, like you just mentioned before, and you get anxious going in an octagon in front of thousands of people and stuff. So and you can control it. So can you dive into a little bit more of like how you can control that fear then?
Yeah, well, for me, like when I'm stepping into the octagon, it's I just try to focus on the things like I can control. You can't control what your opponent's doing. There's so many elements that you can spend time worrying about, and it can be exhausting. If your mind runs wild, all these things that are out of your control, and it's very easy to give them the time of day, and really let them occupy your thoughts. But when it comes down to that moment when I'm walking inside the cage, I just try to focus on what it is I can control. That's your breath, things, just slowing your heart rate down, trying to, have that clarity of mind. I might have a few, trigger words that I'll repeat to myself that I want to work on in the fight, whether it be defend the takedown, box a move, or these, whatever it is I've worked for that fight. And then, just really just trying to stay calm and relaxed, because my trainer told me a long time ago that if you're relaxed, you'll be able to react. So
Yeah.
just try to stay as calm as possible, so I can hear my corner when they're giving me instructions, so I can keep that heart rate down, I can have a clear head, and just really focus in on myself, and just just getting myself in the best place possible where I can perform at my best, and that's when I'm calm and I'm relaxed, and I'm breathing well. I try to keep my heart rate calm. So
Yeah.
just a few certain things, and they're really just the basics. I'm not.
Mm.
There's no magic formula that I'm going through. Before I enter the cage, it's just really simple things. Like just controlling your breath, and a few key words I'll repeat to myself to help me focus on what it is I want to do in the fight.
Yeah, definitely. And the thing about you is that you've got two sports that you're great at. You got your surfing and you got your mixed martial arts, and they're two really high anxious, anxiety, like adrenaline sports. So it might be a bit of a funny question, but did you choose these sports actively, or do you reckon they just chose you because you've just been doing it for so long?
Yeah, I guess, and I kind of mentioned in the book that I'm a little fella, and I've always, I guess, suffered a little bit from small man syndrome. So, like, that's right, a big reason why, I guess I always thought I could compete with the bigger guys. I was always the smallest in my footy side. I was always the smallest in my year, and I just always want to prove I could hold my own with anyone else, whether they be older or bigger than me. I guess that's what led me into having to go at things that maybe normally I would maybe not have the confidence I was out of that small man. I can do that. I can do, and getting there, and then actually find that I enjoy doing it, and then I'm okay at doing it, and that would lead me to pursue doing it more. And that was the same in surfing. When the waves got big, and I was asked, "Are you going to go out there, Rich?" I'll just like I didn't want to go out there. I would shit myself, but I go, yeah, of course I'm going to go out. Yeah, and then I taught myself, up enough that I'd have to go out there, and then I
Yeah.
would, force myself out there because I sort of, I got to sort of back up what I've just said, and then
Yeah.
I realised that even though I am scared out there, and it is a buzz, there's a whole lot of adrenaline, and then you get a few waves, you come in, and you feel great for being able to, go out there, face those fears and achieve something that you're unsure if you could or not. So then once I started realizing, again, the fear of something is often greater than the actual act of doing it itself. I started thinking, okay, so I started to like that challenge. I started to like that adrenaline rush, the competitiveness, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I love that rush, and I love the feeling of going out there accomplishing something that you were scared of. Coming in and realizing, even though I was terrified, I managed to go out there and get a couple of waves, or I managed to go out and do a few rounds with that bigger guy who's got professional fights under his belt. When you're still an amateur, whatever it may be, it's builds that confidence, and you come in feeling pretty good, and then wanting to step it up a notch and try to push it to the next level. So yeah, I enjoy that competition. I enjoy that adrenaline, and yeah, the two sports, they complement each other really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very, very fortunate to have them.
Yeah, well, I mean, so because you're a professional in two sports essentially, you got big wave surfing and UFC. Do you think that it doesn't matter what sport that you could put yourself in? Do you think do you think there's an element of natural talent to be a sporty person, or do you think that it does take work?
Yeah, I don't say it's definitely not the natural talent, but I always was that willingness to have a go at it. I was always active as a kid. My dad was a cyclist. My mum's always been active, so I always wasn't active. Had plenty of energy as a kid, but it wasn't like I had abundance of talent. But I just loved being out there and giving things a go. And then yeah, so I think that stubbornness of maybe that persistence, even though things were tough. I just I wanted, again, it's probably that small man syndrome creeping in there. I wanted to prove that I could do it like the other guys. I could, whether they be bigger or older or whatnot. I just wanted to keep giving things a go, and that's why I think it probably helped me in some respects. And that was like not till I got older that I realised that there's a few different elements that I guess led me into the sports that I'm passionate about. But yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't blessed with special talents, or it wasn't an easy road in either. I mean, it wasn't a walk in the park to get to where I've gotten either sport. But no, it was definitely the love of them, but of both sports, and just I guess a bit of hard work.
Yeah. And then you need that as well. Like, if there's no love there, you're not going to be able to accomplish it, isn't it? And that's what drives
Absolutely.
things at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah, and when it gets to those moments where you're really asking yourself, like, why am I doing this? And and I ask myself that in both surfing and fighting, all the time. Sometimes when you're out in the middle of the ocean and it's huge, you think, what am I doing? Put myself in this situation, or you're cutting weight for a fight, and you got this big fight coming up, and you're feeling horrible, and you're asking yourself, why do I do this to myself? But then it's you realise that if you don't love the sport or don't love what you're doing, you'll find an excuse not to do it. So it's not always easy, but if you do love what you're doing, you'll make it happen.
Yeah, exactly right. And that's with a lot of people. I mean, some people say that going to the gym's not for them. Well, find something that you love doing. We're meant to be moving, aren't we? So you've got to find more what you love doing rather than actually just trying to go to the gym and accomplish a weight loss goal. So I love that concept, mate.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a chore, I mean, you're never gonna do it. You're always gonna find an excuse to not do it. So yeah, I think whatever it is, whatever the goal may be, if you got to turn it into a fun thing, something you enjoy doing, something you love to do, and then it won't become like a workout. It'll just become a lifestyle, and and then it'll never be an effort to do.
Yeah, exactly right. And going back to that fight that I did, like I was only doing boxing for a short time in between in between footy season, and I did it for about 6 weeks. And what you said, it was really fun and it was different. And I ended up losing like 10 kilos or something in about 6 weeks. Anyway, I wasn't even trying to lose weight. So the people have that emphasis of losing weight and making that their primary goal, I think that there's got to be first of all love, and then having fun with what you're doing is what you said. So, and that I see that because with the boxing fight, I lost those 10 kilos unintentionally, So
Yeah.
with my clients as well, like for 10 years, I've been trying to teach them, because I've been doing PT for 10 years. I've been trying to teach them those concepts, and I've always gone on a few pillars that I've worked on. So, having a strong mindset, having the ability to put yourself in a competition or a competitive environment. Physique's important because you just want to look and feel good about yourself that way. And then flexibility and mobility, they're the four pillars. So what do you think that like, well, what do you think of those pillars, and how could we improve on that so we can get more results out of people?
Yeah, yeah, I think they're great pillars to have. And yeah, I think it's always good to set yourself, and that those pillars may change from person to person, but have little things that you can refer back to and make sure, am I doing this? Am I doing that? Um, and just that goal setting, it keeps you motivated. It reminds yourself of why you're doing what you're doing. So
Yeah.
yeah, they're important. I think again, like to achieve any goal, what motivates people is going to change from person to person. So,
Mm.
but like you said, I think having that, like those 4 points,
Yeah.
and customize them to yourself. So there's something that gets you out of bed each day and makes you get out and try to get one step closer to whatever you're trying to accomplish. It's great. I was writing, certain words on pieces of paper and sticking around my bedroom, to get me motivated for fights or remind me of what it is I want to work on today. And no, they're extremely important. I'm big on motivation. If you're lacking motivation, or it's going to be very hard to try and, especially when the going gets tough, to push through those
Mm.
hard times to achieve whatever it is you want to achieve.
Yeah, definitely, man. I agree with that. And so, like, what would a training week look like when you're preparing for a fight?
Yeah, I mean, the beauty of mixed martial arts is you've got so many different skill sets to try and cover. So I
Mm.
mean, just the mixed martial arts, just by its name, it's a combination of all the combat sports out there. So in the lead up to a fight, I'm training anywhere between 14 to or 12 to 14 sessions a week,
Hmm.
and I generally try to cover like 4 combat sports, which is kickboxing, boxing, wrestling, and jiu-jitsu.
Mm.
Um, I find like you've only got so many hours in a week you can dedicate to training, and they're the 4 most important things that I find for my style of fighting. And
Mm.
then also your strength and conditioning and your physio and whatnot. So yeah, it's pretty intense. You got to be pretty selfish to prepare for a fight, and just you got to be. I feel you got to be totally consumed by it.
Yeah.
To prepare, especially at this level, to get in there and give yourself the best shot of getting the result you're after. So yeah, it's generally 2 to 3 sessions a day, and then there's the whole weight cutting aspect of it too. I've fought from flyweight, which is 57 kilos, to a lightweight, which is just over 70 kilos. So
Wow.
when I'm fighting down at flyweight, to get down is also, I from like 8 to 10 weeks out from my fight, I have a pretty structured meal plan. I work with the nutritionist to make sure, I can get down there the safest way possible and the healthiest way possible. So that's coupled on top of that, 12 to 14 sessions a week training schedule. So it can be pretty intense, yeah.
Mm. I mean, I was going to ask that question as well. Like, what example? What would be a day? What would a day look like with your food and your nutrition then?
Um, Yeah, depending on where I'm sitting in terms of my weight. When I work with my nutritionist, I give him my whole training week, so he knows every session that I'm training day to day, and I'll rate them in terms of intensity. So when I
Yeah.
have my hardest sparring session of the week, I'll be able to have a little bit of more carbohydrate after that training session, which is generally just some sweet potato or something, and all my meals are weighed out. I have like the portion control, so I have 4 to 5 smaller meals a day, and
Mm.
depending on my training session, it will dictate sort of the breakup of fats, protein, and carbohydrates. So it's a pretty it's a pretty detailed little system we work with, but
Mm.
I feel that it's the best way to do it. So you can have that good energy throughout training. You're getting rid of you're getting rid of that weight the safest way possible, and then yeah, when it's time to finally knock off those few kilos, and yeah, that's basically just a dehydration process. We just jump in a hot bath, and then I can put the weight on the best way possible before the fight as well in that last 24 hours. So it's
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty boring. That's probably what does your head in the most about the
Yeah.
whole fight camp. But yeah, I think it's very important to do it the safest way possible, and yeah, that's where the discipline really kicks in. Is
Yeah.
sticking to all the little things.
Because the training for the fighting is fun, isn't it? But the food is like, it
Yeah,
does get a bit tedious, wouldn't it?
exactly. You feel like after a pretty hard session, you always feel like you want to reward yourself and have a decent meal, and just sort of get that full feeling. But yeah, it kind of
Yeah.
feels like through fight camp, you never get that kind of full feeling that you're after, and
Yeah.
you don't get to treat yourself, and and your mind plays tricks on you. I'm not a big junk food eater when I'm not fighting, but then as soon as I sign that contract to fight, all I want to do is eat junk food. So yeah, it's definitely a mental battle. You start craving all the foods that you never normally would crave just for the simple fact that you can't have them.
Yeah, exactly right. And is there certain ways that you prepare mentally? Like I remember when I was playing footy, I'd go into like rugby league match, and I'd have a certain system like for the whole day of preparation. For example, that'd be a full day, like a week out. If it's a big game, like I'd have a certain preparation. Is there a certain way that you prepare mentally?
Yeah, like pretty similar to yourself. I'm like a creature of habit where I like to have certain things. I'll probably do the same things. In the lead up to a fight, the week, the day of, I like to do a certain series of stretches. Mobility work. I like to stick to a certain like routine. But mentally, I've worked with sort of mind coaches and sports psychiatrists in the past. Just to one like just visualize all the scenarios that may occur in the fight and be comfortable with any scenario and see yourself working out of those hard situations. My wife, she's a big meditation practitioner, and I've slowly trying to meditate a little bit more and just really calm that mind, and just to you know just to put try to put more emphasis on my mental preparation,
Mm.
rather than just solely always focusing on the physical, because you hear
Yeah.
about that cliche. It's 90% mental, it's 10% physical, and I used to hear that through my teens and early 20s and just laugh it off and say, yeah, whatever. It's all
Yeah.
about being bigger, faster, stronger.
Yeah.
Until I get to a little bit more experience in my career and realize once you get to a certain level, it is definitely the mental side that will separate the fighters there, because everyone's bigger, faster, stronger. Everyone's great at what they do. That's why they're in the UFC. It's that mental aspect that will start to separate the good guys and the great guys. So yes, dedicating even might even be a couple of minutes a day to meditate or visualize, and just try to control the thoughts, and yeah, not let it sort of occupy your whole day. I know if I don't, sometimes if I just sit down and visualize the fight for half an hour and go through all those scenarios that may happen, get comfortable with them, see myself working out of them, see myself getting a good result, well then the rest of the day I feel like I'm not spending my energy and time and my thoughts, going in circles over all that. Cause I've
Mm.
dealt with that. I've spent that half an hour dealing with all those scenarios, dealt with that. The rest of the day
Yeah.
I can move on, and I'm not exhausting myself thinking about the fight all day. So
Yeah,
for
that's
that
awesome.
aspect, I think it's great.
Yeah. Man, yeah, I think that meditation and just being with yourself for about 20-minute, 30-minute period is really important, because the visualization, I mean, that's how we remember things. So and we remember in pictures. So that's why it's good to get that visualization. I mean, that's great in all avenues of your life. So it's a very valuable tool that you just gave people. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no,
Um,
because mate, if I don't do that, it'll just keep burning away in the background of my mind all day, and you're kind of
mm,
always a little anxious throughout the whole day, and like I said, it can be exhausting. So just put half an hour aside to just sit back and think, well, what is making me anxious? What am I fearful of this fight? What scenarios am I worried about? And then sit down, play them through in your
mm.
mind, see yourself working out of them, because we train this every day, so you know how to get out of these bad situations, and just go through the process of how you'll do it if it happens, and then
Yeah.
yeah, you're going to move through the rest of the day like a weight's off your shoulder.
Yeah, definitely, mate, definitely. Um, I've been exploring. It's just a bit of fun. Just I've been exploring this concept of well, I've been calling it a healthy hacker. A hacker is like someone that can dive into something that's at an accelerated rate. And
Yeah,
this is definitely not to take away from the fighting game and the hours and years of preparation that people put into it, because I think it's so fascinating. It's more about seeing how I can and test my body in a certain time frame. So I'll give you an example. Like I prepared. I don't know if I've told you this before, but I prepared for a marathon with no experience in 28 days.
yep,
Mainly just because I wanted to prepare myself. Mainly because I wanted to prepare myself for a short time. I didn't have a lot of time, essentially, because the Sydney Marathon was coming up in 28 days, and I got dared to do it. So I'm like, oh well, you know what, 28 days, let's do it. And that's a short time to go from nothing to running 41 k's, and I have definitely a lot more respect for runners there. And I did another one with the boxing fight, as you could tell, as you were aware. I did that in about 5 weeks.
yep,
I've went from traveling in Europe to playing an international rugby league game 2 weeks later, and I was backpacking through Europe, and then I ended up playing an international game. So there's a couple of different sports that I was diving into that I had to learn at an accelerated rate.
yep.
So if we were to play the same game as a healthy hacker, how could someone prepare? Like if for me, for example, if I came to you, which I might do, by the way, and say,
Yeah.
man, I've got a month's preparation. Any way you could coach me? What would I need to work on in that 30-day period or short time frame to ensure that I'm prepared, accelerated for that fight?
For a mixed martial arts fight?
Yeah, for a mixed martial arts fight.
Well, yeah, I just try to simplify things and not overcomplicate it, So I'll look at what you're good at already, So you've got good boxing already, and I'll just try and focus on to keep the fight standing, defend that
Yeah,
takedown and just use what you're good at. So I wouldn't try and like load all these new skills onto you and just overwhelm your brain with all this new information and in that short period of time. It's going to be detrimental, So just select a few things that you're good at, a few things that you want to prevent or not want the fight to go, and just work on
mm,
those. And it's all about getting you confident stepping in the day, not having you second guess yourself. So just really, keep it positive. Really trying to
mm,
have that positive reinforcement, get that confidence up. And just keep it simple. Just get it
yeah,
working on a few select things to for you achieving that fight. And I think that would be the best way to approach. Most things. I think it's crazy to think that you're going to pick up all the skills of mixed martial arts,
mm,
in a couple of weeks. So just
yeah,
break it down to a few things that you're already good at, and a few that a few areas of the fight that you're hoping to avoid, and maybe work on. Not wrestling as a whole, but maybe wrestling defense to keep the
yeah,
fight
exactly
standing,
right.
and just get things have the training go so you start to feel good about yourself and start to things are starting to work and you feel good with your boxing, you feel good with your defense and that your wrestling defense. So you're feeling positive, that confidence is up, and that the whole mental side of things, like I said, it's so important. So I can get you stepping into the octagon in a positive frame of mind, feeling good about your
Mm,
few weeks of prep. Well, that's massive. Sometimes I say like the thought of being a good fighter is sometimes better than actually being a good fighter. If you believe you're a good fighter
mm.
and you believe that you have a good prep and you go in there and you back yourself, that can overcome someone who has all the talent in the world, has all the skills in the world, but if they second guess themselves, well then it's that's all it takes for that little chick in the armor and for all to fall apart.
Yeah, exactly right, mate. And
Yeah,
as I said, it was definitely never take away from the hours of preparation that people accomplish. It's mainly to conquer a goal in itself. Like that. I find that very fearful to prepare for go in the octagon. And if I didn't have a lot of time to prepare for it, I just wanted to know what I could potentially do. For
yeah,
the running, for example, I never ran more than 3 kilometers or I think maybe 10 kilometers. I think I did the city to surf.
yep,
And then I jumped into doing that run. And I told myself at the start, I said, I can't run more than, a certain kilometers, and that's
yeah,
why I put myself in that environment where, what, I've got to prove myself wrong, essentially. So,
yeah,
and that's what I'm diving into. I want more that with the explained before with the pillars, an essence of competition is great to have in your life, not to have that competitive spirit, is still a great thing, and it'll be great to get more people, fighting. And if people think that it might take years and years to learn, it'd be good to just get them in the ring and just have a go. So
Yeah, and
I
that
think
essence
that's
of competition too. It doesn't have to come from anywhere else. That can just be solely within yourself. Don't
exactly right.
you think a competition has to be an opponent or a team? It doesn't. It can just be
No,
simply like you just said. It could just be challenging yourself to do a half marathon or full marathon just because you've never done it before and you always question whether you can. So you're challenging yourself, and that could just be all you need to find that motivation to take on a challenge like that. So step out of your comfort zone and give something like that a go. And I think some of my best fights have been on short notice, is because I haven't had that time to dwell on all the possible scenarios that may happen. I haven't the consequences of the result. You don't exhaust yourself by all that kind of chatter. You sort of say yes to the fight. All of a sudden, the night's there, and then you step in, and you've had a few good weeks prep, and whatever have you. You sort of take the pressure off yourself because you haven't had a great build up. You just go, it is what it is. I've trained for a few weeks. I've said yes to this fight, so now I'm going to go in there and let the cards, fall where they may. And you often perform your best because you're not putting that pressure on yourself after months and months of prep. You think, geez, I've trained so hard for months and months. I've got to get the result. It's just, that sometimes can creep in and allow you to put more pressure on yourself than it's necessary.
Yeah, exactly right. I did get 36 kilometers into that run that I did, and I realized that
Is it 42 Ks?
40, it's 42 Ks. I got in about 36 Ks, and I thought, now I know why I needed to have months and months preparation.
Yeah.
So, but then it was still, it was still a good lesson learned nonetheless. So, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you, Richie, mate. It's so humbling, and I feel very privileged to sit down and chat to you, mate. Definitely continuously reading this book. How can more people get a hold of this?
Oh, mate, if they're in Oz, it's like in Kmart, Big W, all the major bookstores, and bookshops itself, or on booktopia.com.au. And if you're overseas, it's on the bookdepository.com or just bookdepository.com. So yeah, I mean, we had a lot of fun putting the book together. It's an easy read. And I hope you guys enjoy it.
Yeah, awesome, mate. Thanks so much for your time, Richie. I really appreciate it. Cheers.
Good to chat, Liam. Thanks for having us, mate.
Thank you.